Welcome to the Win, Make, Give podcast. Chad Hyams here, Bob Stewart over there. Bob, you know, I was going to ask you how you are as I normally do. Yet as soon as I started, a huge smile came over your face, Bob Stewart.
Sometimes before we start recording, we're talking about something.
Yes.
And that was like the fastest end to our conversation into the recording. And you said, you're like, okay, are you ready? And just reflexively, I said yes, but I wasn't actually ready. Like I needed a minute or 30 seconds of a pause between what we were talking about and this. But you're just like, okay, are you ready? And I'm like, yep. And then it literally started recording, which is what we're doing now. And so I was laughing to myself because I wasn't ready.
Because Bob is a yes man and just says yes when you ask him the question without realizing, no, he wasn't really ready.
My brain can only work on one thing at a time. And in that tiny little space between when we had kind of finished talking about what we were talking, my brain started thinking about something else. And then you like just immediately bookended with, okay, are you ready? And you short-circuited me.
Okay, well, there you go. I broke Bob. So this will be an interesting episode. Folks, we were talking about Apple's WWDC, which was recent, and I'm a nerd enough to watch that. If you have Apple TV, the WWDC is available for you. That's their developer conference. That's their intro to what's new. So they were talking about iOS 27, the new operating system called Golden Gate that'll be coming out shortly as a beta test and then to the public later this year. And they were talking about how Siri is going to transform your life and all the things Apple is going to bring to us. They're not always the fastest. They've always said that. They're not always first, yet they do it better than everyone when they do it. So watch out. If you're an Apple nerd like I am, go watch the WWDC. That was June 7th or 8th or something like that you can find.
Wait, can you see me now?
Did you think about that?
Earlier, you saw that I was smiling. Can you see I was almost asleep there when you were talking about that?
Wow, Bob.
What? Oh, my God. Just put it on my phone and just make it work. Like, I don't need to watch the conference about it.
Did you hear Elon Musk say that in 5 years, our phones will be completely different? We won't have apps. They'll be like Blockbuster and they'll be gone. We won't need apps anymore because the phone will all be AI just doing everything for you.
I don't know. I'm still waiting for my car to drive itself. Like Elon told me that would happen.
It does, Bob.
Right there. Have you seen the Tesla? Have you seen the Waymo? Like there's a neighborhood in Arizona where like every morning at 6 a.m. like all these Waymos come and get stuck in their little cul-de-sac and they're like running. They're all like locked up there. Like that's the future he promised us is a bunch of cars stuck in a roundabout that they can't figure out.
Are those Teslas? Because people tell me the Tesla does drive itself just fine. Thank you. I'm scared. I won't trust it.
Yeah, I don't know. One of our place partners told me a story about like they were, and it's again a Waymo, not a Tesla, but they were in one of those things and it dropped them off, and one of them got out, and the other one it locked her in, and then it took off with her, and they're like panic calling. So I'm like, I'm good on those, I think, until I don't know.
Maybe if I had the control, right? It's the control that we still need. The Tesla where it's driving and we're in the driver's seat and can grab the wheel. I think maybe I can trust that. I don't know about sitting in the back seat of a car without a person up there.
Yeah.
Not what we're here to talk about, though, folks.
Okay.
No, I just wanted to let Bob get comfortable.
Okay, thank you.
Because I'm putting him in the hot seat today. Because, Bob, when I outlined this episode, I was thinking completely you, and I was going to put you in that hot seat today because you publicly announced to everybody that's a Win, Make, Give listener back when we did the Carousel Ring episode, which every time it gets mentioned, Bob's like, I don't even remember what that means. Yeah. Bob, that is when you announced a goal that you have to stop putting things on your bucket list and instead one thing in the near future that you could grab for to make your life more exciting. What was that if people don't remember that episode, Bob?
That would be Kentucky Derby. Go to the Kentucky Derby.
In
2027.
Right. This isn't on the bucket list, folks. This isn't Bob saying one day he's going to the Kentucky Derby. This is Bob saying, I'm going to the Kentucky Derby in 2027. I'm making it a carousel ring item. check out that episode not too long ago. Scroll back up and find it. Yeah, Bob, I'm putting you on the spot today because today we're talking the distance trap. Because I hear from people about goals they set all the time. The problem is they set them too far away. So we're going to talk today about the 6 ways to stay driven, Bob, when your goal is still miles and miles away.
Okay.
If you were in a self-driving car, you could take a nap, you'd wake up, the car would have you there in theory. That's not how it works with our goals. We have to stay awake. We have to stay motivated. Have you ever done the cross-country drive, Bob?
No, nope. The furthest
Have you
I've
done
ever
a long, like multiple day drive?
No, not right. I mean, I've driven from Seattle to Phoenix, which is like 2 days. I've driven from Seattle to Denver, which should probably take you 3, but I did it in 24 hours straight with a friend where we just switched off driving for 24 hours. So I think that's the longest drive I've made is Seattle to Denver.
You have a long-term goal, right? Get to Arizona or get to Denver or whatever that is in that situation. And boy, especially at the beginning, those miles tick off really slowly.
Yeah.
Really slowly. We're not even out of Washington yet. And then holy crap, Oregon takes forever or however the route would be. That's what we're talking about, folks. In real life, we do that with our goals as well.
You know, it's interesting because I have 2 examples. I've driven from Seattle to, call it LA or Orange County, probably like 4 or 5 times in my life, like a bunch of times in my 20s. And I also used to drive from Blaine, where I grew up, to Spokane, which was like a 4-hour drive, not that much. But in both of those scenarios, because I did them over and over, Chad, what was really interesting is the drives stopped becoming these really long drives and they started becoming these like segmented drives. And I haven't even seen your list yet. So because I'm on the hot seat, so I get coming in blind here. But especially that Seattle or that Blaine to Spokane drive that I made like 100 times were just the segmenting of it. It no longer became a long drive. In fact, we made that drive recently with my family. And to me, they were like, oh, this is like the misery. And I'm like, no, like it's just, it's another half hour until we get to Clay Elum, right? Oh, guys, in another hour, we're going to be at the Vantage Bridge. And so like my brain, like the drives you do over and over, my brain definitely would segment those into manageable chunks, if you will.
There you go. And that's how you have to do it, right? I mean, I remember doing the cross-country drives. You would watch the mile markers on the side of the road and be able to figure out where the end of that state will be and where the end of that state will be as you go. That's what we're talking about today, because Bob has a goal that's still pretty far away, Bob. I mean, I'd have to do the exact count, but it's about 11 months, 10 months away-ish.
11 months.
Okay. And it sounds far away, so you are probably doing very little about it other than me holding you here on the podcast to it, and maybe you told one person and said,
I think I have a sidekick for it. So that's like the one practical step I've taken is I have my travel partner, I guess you'd say.
Okay. So psychologically, folks, our brain is structurally terrible at long-term rewards. Distance will breed delay. Bob, have you ever heard of the book, The 12-Week Year?
Yeah.
Okay. And what does he tell us in the book? He takes the book from annual goals to quarterly goals and talks about how every week is a month, right? And if you looked at every week as a month, there are 13 weeks in a quarter, you would have 12 weeks, which would be a year, and a week of vacation. It's how he tells you to achieve your goals and have 4 weeks of vacation in there, because according to the Journal of Consumer Research, the closer we'll get to a goal, Bob, the harder we work to obtain it. And the opposite of it is also therefore true. The farther away it is, our daily motivation drops to actually achieve the goal. When the 12-week year came out, the big thing from it was we brought those goals so much closer. We made them a little smaller, yet brought them closer. We usually exceeded our goals. That's what I want to help our audience with, and that's what I want to get you on the right track for, so that the Kentucky Derby is something that you're celebrating while I'm living in Spain. Just so you know, that's my goal that works along with this.
I see what you did there. I see what you did
as well. All right, so Bob, the first way to defeat the distance trap is slice macro into micro. And you just said it, right? You hadn't read ahead yet. You knew, because I wanted you in the hot seat, that when you went on these drives, maybe the first time it felt long.
Yeah, it felt really long.
Then you started to realize, hey, wait, it's here to the mountain pass. It's here to where I always stop to go to the bathroom. It's here to that gas station along the way. And before you knew it, instead of a 10-hour drive, you had 5 2-hour drives, which were a lot easier to get through.
That the one I made the most, that Blaine to Spokane drive, it was a series of 11 different checkpoints along the way. And I knew what each 11 were. And, they were about at 30 to 45 minute intervals. Right. And I mean, if I stopped ever along it, it was at one of those 11 intervals. It was such an easier drive to look at it that way.
And the intervals weren't equal.
No.
Right, folks? They don't have to be, I have to take 100 and divide it by 4. It means I have to go 25, 20. No, you can say 20 and 30 and 15 and whatever the math would be there. Bob's the math guy, right? In that situation, because dopamine is released upon achievement, not just anticipation of something. So if your goal is 11 months away, if your goal is 11 hours away or whatever it is on the drive, then your brain stars for the dopamine, which is what's going to make you quit because you're not receiving any from the activity. So we have to take macro and turn it into micro, Bob.
Makes a ton of sense. Like, if I'm going to sell 100 widgets this year, Chad, I got to figure out what I need to do today to get the first widget sold, right? And then it becomes a series of, okay, if I'm going to sell, 2 widgets a week, and then what am I doing weekly to get those 2 widgets sold? Like, most of the time, if we know that goals far out are less likely to be motivation for us, then we have to set these these things that will allow us to be motivated over the next week or 2 weeks or whatever it is. This makes perfect sense.
Okay, so here's what I want you to do, Bob. An audience, I want you to do the same thing. I'm not going to push pause for Bob. I'll fill the gap while I give him a minute. Bob, pull out your paper and pen. You're the one who's always taking notes, so I know you got it there for us. Okay? I want you to break down the Kentucky Derby goal into some of those micros from the macro.
Yeah, it'd be like, get my travel partner. That's checked off. That was month 1. Say month 2 would be figure out tickets, right? Month 3 would be book travel. I
got to imagine those hotels fill out quick.
Yeah, totally. Month 4 would be so I could figure out tickets. Yeah, tickets. Month 4 would be book travel and hotel, right? I don't know. Subsequent months would
buy
be
your hat, right? You're gonna wear one of the big hats, right?
Yeah, I gotta get my hat. I gotta get my clothing ready. I mean, it's not honestly like it's not. This is not a multi-step, multifaceted thing. It's basically like, who am I doing it with? How am I getting there? And
booking
how am I going to get in once I'm there, right? And then where am I going to stay? Like it's not that complicated.
Here's the thing: you don't have to wait to get started on some of it, so you already are getting the dopamine hit of saying, "Oh my God, I'm really going to go to the Kentucky Derby in 2027." I've already connected with someone who's in the area that goes out of town and is going to Airbnb me their place. I've already connected with whoever is going to help us get tickets because they're one of the sponsor companies or whatever that's going to be. Break these things down. Vincent van Gogh said, great things are done by a series of small things brought together.
Right? And then he cut his ear off.
So and then he cut his ear off. Right. Absolutely. Yeah. I don't know which quote came first, whether it came first or after. We don't need, Bob, you to wait and then sit down and one day say, okay, I'm booking my flight. I'm booking my hotel. I'm getting my ticket. We want to break these things down. Folks, take a goal you have right now. Break it down into micro goals you can achieve so the dopamine makes it more believable and more enticing to keep going on this path. You don't run 26 miles. You run 1 mile 26 times. Otherwise, you'd stop the race very, very early. All right, Bob, step number 2 to defeat the distance trap. Establish pre-commitment devices. So what do we mean by this, Bob? We mean put skin in the game early. Not just put skin in the game. Put skin in the game early, Bob, so that you are tied to it. Don't wait, as I said, till the beginning of next year to book. Go buy your flight now.
Yeah, I feel like you're really forcing my hand here, right? This is things
You're
like
putting me on the hot seat.
Public commitments might be some skin in the game early,
Yep.
right? Private commitments could be, right? Like a commitment to the person that I've asked to go with me. Could be, buying the plane ticket, right? And it'd even be more impressive if I decided not to check the little box that gives me the insurance on it. It's like non-refundable, right?
Or the hotel and buy the rate that's the pay now, and it's right, no refund. Put that skin in the game. Folks, if you are a Win Make Give podcast listener and you see Bob, whether it's in the office, whether it's on a webinar, he comes to you, you should be asking him, hey, Bob, what have you done about the Kentucky Derby? Right? Because he's put the skin in the game by going public with this and saying, let's make it happen. Folks, skin in the game. Whatever the goal is that you've got, what skin in the game can you put in now so a commitment was made, not just plans?
Chad, I think of like if I was making a commitment to go to the gym, like a really good pre-commitment device would be, let me just pay for the whole year. Right? Like, I'm just going to pay for it. Because if I do it month by month after a couple weeks and I haven't gone yet, I might be like, what, let me just cancel this. Like, I'm not doing this. But if I pay for the whole year, now it's like, it's that penalty that I've kind of set up for myself of not going out and holding that commitment.
Bob, we talked about it on a recent episode where we joked about people getting on social media and doing, it's day 1 of, right? And they make the video and maybe they make it to day 5 before we no longer see these videos coming from them. Yet that is public buy-in, right? You make that video, you're putting skin in the game because Bob might see it. Chad might see it. That person might see it who's actually willing to look you in the eyes and say, so did you? Right? I didn't see the video anymore. What happened to you? Right? Skin in the game, pre-commitment devices will make this happen. All right, let's go to number 3 on the list, Bob, because I really like this one. Shift your focus from the outcome to the identity. All right, we've heard James Clear say it, and then we've heard 100 people rip it off, and we've heard James probably actually ripped it off from someone. You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. All right, we've heard that in multiple different ways from multiple people. What we know, Bob, is we want it to become our identity, right? You're no longer just arriving at the Kentucky Derby. We want you to focus on becoming the person who handles that kind of experience on a regular basis and goes to events like the Kentucky Derby.
Yeah. I think there's something to, this is one of those things, Chad, where, I've talked about this before. It's like the 21-year-old version of me would have been like, this is bullshit. This is
the hooey stuff, right?
Yeah, this is hooey. This is very like theoretical and, little fairies floating around in the sky. But like the 48-year-old version of me is like, this is true. Like I see people all the time that say things like, this just isn't me. And I'm like, you're right. Right? Like if you don't think in your identity that that's you, then you're not going to do that thing. Like that goal is never going to become you. It's the things required to become that person, in my case, that goes and does these amazing fun events, right? The person you have to become is the thing that matters. Like all these little goals along the way are kind of turning you into that person that believes this is the kind of things I do. This is more true to me with 27 years of life experience than it ever would have been if I was 21. At 21, this sounded like
so Bob, I'm going to put you in the hot seat. Okay. That's what this episode's all about. Think about it for a second. I'll give our audience something to talk about while you're thinking. Think about 2 or 3 pieces of identity of who you are to be someone who goes to the Kentucky Derby. I don't know how many times I've heard in our industry people like, "Oh, I don't like to cold call. I don't call the phone. I don't use the phone, whatever it's going to be." Yet they want the results of people who are dialing all day long and getting the results. They have to change their identity to become someone who embraces the phone, someone who makes those calls. You won't like it now. A year from now, when the results are showing up, that's just who you are and you'll appreciate it. I'm someone who just goes to the gym. I appreciate that now.
But here's the thing. Like, I think here's where, like let's just use that calling one, right? And I sit here today and I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, I'm not the person. I'm not a caller. I'm not a cold caller. It's not me. I don't like, there's all these, I don't like to interrupt people. I don't want to be a burden. There's all these things going through my head, right? I think the way that you start to change that identity, you can't just and this is where like the 21-year-old me, I think, would be like, oh, okay. So tomorrow I just wake up and I go, I am a caller. I do like to interrupt people. Right? No. Like the 48-year-old me would go, okay, look, like I'm not a caller, but my identity is wrapped up in somebody that loves to help people. My identity is wrapped up in somebody that believes I'm really, really good at what I do. And if those people need me and they don't pick me, they might pick somebody else that's less good than what I do. Yes. Right. And if I can line my identity up and it feels authentic, right, then I might start to change my behavior. But I think just, lying to yourself and saying, well, I know I'm not somebody that is comfortable, calling people that didn't ask me to call them today. I can't just show up and be like, okay, I'm not that anymore. Now I'm somebody that's comfortable doing that. You have to find like an angle of where your identity can where it can feel authentic in that.
Bob, what does your identity look like as someone who attends events like the Kentucky Derby?
So it's funny. I think originally when I thought about this, it was like me going for the experience because, when we were younger, I owned a racehorse with some of my buddies. And like, it's just, I used to go to the Emerald Downs, and before that it was called Long Acres, the horse track here in Washington, with my dad when I was a little kid. And so I started out with this, like, I want to do this because it's something that I like, but it's actually changed. And here's where I think I'll end up actually going. Because a big part of my identity is like, I want to be a great father that gives my kids a lot of experience in life that I didn't get to have when I was growing up. And so bringing them, I think, is the way that like that starts to feel more in line with my identity. I think if I was to go do it without them, I would, it wouldn't be as good of an experience. And I'm not sure that I would drive towards actually getting it done, because it starts to become something that's not actually my identity anymore.
Right. That's a great point, right? Folks, make sure that your identity connects to what you're doing. We have to shift our focus from just the outcome of the goal to our identity. Number 4 on the list, Bob. We've heard it. I'm not going to go too deep into this. I think everybody has heard this lately to a point that I think it's been beaten, right? It's track the gain, not the gap, right? Mm-hmm. When we focus on the gap, we get depressed. We feel disillusioned. We don't believe it's ever going to happen because we're always looking ahead. The depression comes. We're not there. You're not there. You're not there. Oh my God, it's not happening. When we focus on the gain and we look backwards and say, look how far I've come, we feel, wow, right? Look how far I've come. I never thought I could sell this many widgets. I never thought my income could look like that. I never thought I could have a life like this. That brings us happiness and joy. So folks, if it's a long-term goal that we're discussing here that we're wanting to bring closer, every 30, 60, maybe 90 days, do an audit and celebrate the ground you've covered, right? Bob, you still have 11 months, but I would tell you at the end of July or maybe the end of August, there should be a sit down that says, oh my gosh, the boys are ready to go for this. I've got my other travel partner who wants to go for this, and we've already got the tickets, or we've already got the hotel booked. Look how we're already making this a reality. It will absolutely release the endorphins needed to keep you going.
I this morning I was on a call where one of my colleagues masterfully spun somebody from being focused on the gap and got her to see what the gains have been so far. Like it was, and she came into the call very frustrated, very down, very and I think a lot of really high performers that are setting these large goals would take a lot of work and effort to get to. They're constantly obsessed with how far we have to go and how much gap there is there. And it was very interesting as he slowed her down and said, what about this? Like, this is so much better than 3 months ago. What about this? And he just had her, and it was just she had 12 things that she wanted to be further along on, and so she was all wrapped around. And he was like, what about these 3 things that have been really great gains? And it was really impressive to watch her total attitude change from like the first 5 minutes to like the 5 minutes after she started focusing on the gain or on the gain instead of the gap. So that is real. I saw it in action today. And I think, had she walked out of that call focused on what she was focused on to begin with, like there wouldn't have been a bunch of forward movement. But I think her seeing, okay, actually, wow, the stuff we have been doing has been moving us forward. I just been focused over here on the stuff where I want it to move faster. Brought her out of that call with the belief that, okay, there's still more things we can do to go, close the gap.
Absolutely. We're looking at it with our goal of making the move over to Spain, as I've put out there now. We look around and we go, oh my gosh, there's so much to do. Once a week, we have the gain-focused meeting where it's like, oh my gosh, we just donated 6 bags of things. We've already gotten rid of all that stuff, and we still have this much time. We've already gotten rid of it. We've already got these papers put together. We've already got these documents collected. Look how far along we are on the journey. I would tell you, audience, Bob, 30, 60, or 90 days, pick a window depending on the goal and do an evaluation of what you've already done and what you've gained to keep you excited about the goal you're working towards. Number 5, Bob, it's create if-then intentions. Now, what we mean by this, folks, Harvard-backed research has shown that if you plan for obstacles in advance, it will increase your follow-through towards a goal by 300%. And we've all heard Benjamin Franklin tell us that by failing to prepare, you are preparing to fail.
I thought you were going to give me a Ben Kinney quote, but you were going to call him Benjamin Kinney. There was a period of time, Chad, where I can remember, and maybe he still does this in some scenario, but there was a period of time where I can remember when Ben would like give our team a goal, and then he would always we would never walk out of there to go start working on that thing until we had kind of dissected what could potentially get in the way of making this happen by next Friday. Right? He'd be like, okay, like right now, before we leave here, we're all on board with doing this, but what's going to come up? Like this is essentially this if then. If this happens, then what? And by the way, most of the stuff never came up, but had it, we would have been prepared for it, right? But there were things that we would talk about there that would come up. And I think, to Harvard's research here, like the fact that we had discussed them previously, I don't have any question, helped us push through those things and stay on track to do the goal.
Right, Bob, if you sit down and you figure out that it's going to cost blank to go on this adventure to Kentucky Derby, and then you say, okay, so I'm going to divide that by 11. I'm going to put this much money in the bank every month so I have it when the time comes, and pay it from there. So maybe 1 month's not as good a month financially, right? So sit down and figure out, well, if this happens and I don't get the bonus I was planning to make that happen, or if sales drop here, then this is what I will do to compensate for that.
Ben Kinney would never do that to me. He always gives me really, really nice bonuses.
Well, there you go. Ben, are you listening, Ben? Wait, you get bonuses? So put yourself in a position where, folks, if then, don't sit there for days coming up with everything so that you beat down a point. Yet there are probably 3 or 4 obvious obstacles that could pop up. If they happen, then what will you do? Okay. Bob, we're talking about 6 ways to stay driven when the goal is miles away. The first way we said was slice things macro into micro. Second thing was establish some pre-commitment devices, skin in the game. Shift your focus from the outcome to the identity of who you need to be. Track the gain, not the gap. Create if-then intentions. And Bob, number 6 is build proximity to the target. Now, what do I mean by that? Environment design dictates our behavior. So you've heard the expression, out of sight, out of mind. You're looking around because I can see you right now. Is there anything that's indicating Kentucky Derby 2027 in your line sight?
No, like not in my line of vision day in and day out, but you saw me look up to the side because I do have something up here that's kind of, it's out of, it's on the side of my
Secretariat's baseball card?
I do. I've got that Secretariat card that has a piece of hair from Secretariat in it. That should totally, and it's going to by the time we're done here, be sitting like essentially in my ring. So I've got this ring light that's lighting me up, and there's a little bracket that it could literally sit right over the top of my computer, staring me in the face all day long, every day.
Right,
which it will be here when we finish. I have to get it out from behind the glass up there on the side, but it's so good,
folks. Think about what you need to do. Bob, we know the town in Spain we're going to. We actually found a live webcam that is broadcast over the little river by the bridge there. And it's one of my windows that's sitting here staring at me when I come to the computer and open up my computer or my phone. There's a live webcam of life going on there. The weather app tells us, the clock on my phone is telling me what time it is there. I've put visual things in front of me. So whether I'm in the living room and there's a learn Spanish book or I'm on my phone, there's the reminder. Folks, put something visual in your path, whether that's in your car. I got into a car with a guy, Bob. He once had the number like 52 taped on his steering wheel. And I had to ask him, he was driving me to a training, and I had to say to him, what's the 52 mean? He goes, I'm going to help 52 families buy and sell houses this year. So it sits on the steering wheel reminding me what my goal is. I asked him, I said, isn't that awkward when you have a buyer in the car? And he said, well, they asked me what it's about, and it's just the cue to ask them for a referral. So he's got that right there. He says, I've set all my alarms. I wake up at 8:52 instead of 9. I do all these things. Gotta put some visual cue so that it's not out of sight.
Ben's lock screen on his phone for years was his goals. It probably still is today, but
And he had the dry erase over his headboard. That was he wasn't a decorator, we'll say that. Yet he had the vision board above his bed that he saw every day about what he was looking to build when it was all time.
Yeah.
And that's actually a small piece of what he's built now, folks. Yet it gave him the vision, which started the momentum, which turned one goal into other goals. And then, yes, they're on his lock screen and it's right there. Folks, here's the thing. We can all say goals and they're just dreams, really. We stick timelines on them to attempt to make them sound real. Yet the farther away they are, the less likely they will ever come true. So I'm challenging you. First, go back and listen to the carousel ring episode. Go through the exercise that I took Bob through on the episode. What's your carousel ring? And then go through these 6 steps. Break it down so that it becomes a reality, so that you can be texting me or messaging me and Bob and saying, I went to the Kentucky Derby. I achieved this goal. My family and I did blank. Whatever it is that you're putting in front of yourself, don't put it so far away that you can't see it without these steps to help you make it happen. Bob, you can be sure once every few months, there's an episode focused on the Kentucky Derby, because I'm not letting you let your goal down.
All right. Wait, once every month is how you said it? Once a month?
I said every few months, Bob.
Oh, every few months. Okay, cool.
I'll give you some time. Figure out what needs to be done as your next micro along the macro goal. So Bob, you're ready to keep our audience informed how the progress is going. Folks, share this episode because there's somebody out there who's got a goal they're not achieving. Let us help them make it happen by you being the one who brings this to them. Until our next episode, as always, do good.